the differences between all 15 questions, right? If you are going to take the first one, write the difference between JRE, JDK and JVM. JDK means we can call it as Java Development Kit. JRE means Java Runtime Environment. JVM means, right? But interviewer won't expect this one. They are expecting the actual concept, right? So if you are able to clearly understood, JDK means which is used for to develop and run the application, which is used for to develop and run the application, right? JRE is meant for to run the application and JVM is meant for which is used for to read line by line of bytecode and converting into system understandable format. This is the difference between JRE, JDK and JVM. I mean, basically what will happen? You are going to write some Java program. So let me call JK, that is going to extend with Java. Compiler is going to compile. You are going to compile with respect to a software or a program called Java C. Then it is going to generate .class file. This .class file will contains the data in the form of byte format. So we can call it as bytecode. And this .class file is going to read by JVM. And it is going to convert into machine universal format. We can say it as .exe file, right? So here it can be any kind of machine. It can be Mac, or it can be Windows, or it can be Linux, or it can be any kind of operating system that can be easily understood by any kind of .exe file, right? So this is going to be done by whom? JVM. JVM purpose is to read line by line of bytecode and converting into system universal format. Because of the existence of JVM, we call Java language as what? We got the feature of platform independent. Good, right? So here JVM is platform independent or JVM is platform independent? JVM is going to be platform dependent. JVM is going to be platform dependent, and .class file is platform independent. Very good. .class file is platform independent and JVM is going to be platform dependent, which means that for each and every kind of operating system, we are going to have separate kind of JVMs in order to understand the native language format, right? So if you want to have more clarity, you can go to the earlier videos, right? So I think I have given the clear explanation about this, all the things, right? So that is the meaning of JVM. So internally JVM is going to read line by line or multiple lines at a time? Line by line. Line by line, as it is reading and executing, we can call it as interpreter. If it is going to read whole lines at a time, we can call it as compiler generally, right? So here this part we will call it as compilation part and this part we will call it as execution part, right? So here if you look into the exact the relation between the JDK, JRE and JVM, JDK will look like this. JDK is whole thing, which is a combination of what? JRE you are going to get, in addition to JRE you are going to get various kind of development tools, right? What will be the one of the example for development tools? Java C, right? So as a developer you have to have compulsory JDK. If somebody wants to use software which is developed in Java language, they need only JRE, that's it, right? So if you take the JRE will internally contains again JVM, which is meant for what? To read line by line of bytecode and convert into system format. So if you look into here, JVM will internally contains again one more part called class loader subsystem. If you remember it, what is the purpose of class loader subsystem? Which is used for to load dot class files from which location? From secondary memory to primary memory. Am I right or not? At a time, we cannot able to accommodate hundreds of class files in the main memory because we are having to have only less memory, right? If any kind of file is needed at the runtime, class loader subsystem is responsible for to take out some of the class files from primary memory to secondary memory and some of the files from secondary memory to primary memory. That is the advantage of class loader subsystem. Because of this reason, we call it as Java having dynamic feature. So dynamically, it is going to add dot class files from secondary memory to primary memory to secondary memory, right? So this is the differences between, these are some of the differences between JRE, JDK and JVM, right? Can you differentiate between method overriding and overloading? Yes, right? So basically, both are going to have some difference are there. Method overriding, you are going to get at when you are going to follow the concept of inheritance especially. Am I right or not, right? So when you are going to follow some kind of inheritance concept, for example, let me take, there is a class A, and there is a class B, which is inheriting, right? Inheriting means what? You have to use a keyword called extends keyword, extends A. Basically, method overriding means method signature is purely same, only body is going to modify, right? If I take here, method is something like public, return type is void, method is CSC2. If it is going to participate in inheritance process, you are going to get same method logical available here. Yes, public void CSC2, you are going to get same thing, right? Here you are going to modify certain body. This is what we call it as method override. Simply, we can say signature is same. We can say it as same signature but different body. We can call it as method override. Method overloading means you are going to have method name is same but different number of parameters. So we can say it as parameters may vary. So in what situations we can consider this? We can define it in terms of 3 points. One is in terms of number of parameters. We can say type of parameter. There are sometimes data type also may, right? Number of parameters may be same but type may be changed. And we can say order of parameters. Very good. These are the differences between method overriding and overloading, right? Next one, string buffer and string builder. Can you differentiate? Right? So generally, if you got any kind of question, differentiate between something like string and string buffer or string builder. One main difference is string is immutable and these two are going to be mutable. You know the back end what is going to happen when we are going to go with the string class and string buffer and string builder classes. When you go with the string buffer and string builder, memory is going to be created at which location? You have to make sure heap. Memory is going to be created in the heap, right? All the objects memory is going to be reside in the heap. When you are going to create any kind of a string with respect to object again, string s equal to new string, where the memory is going to be created? Heap. You have to have the clarity in all concepts, right? So when you are going to create objects for the classes, all the objects are going to be reside in the heap memory. But if you are going to create something like string k equal to CSC, it is what way of declaration? Literal way of declaration, or we can say constant way of declaration. So then only the memory is going to be created in which location? String constant pool. There is separate memory called string constant pool. Here the memory is going to be allocated for it. But before allocating the memory, what it is going to do? It is going to check for whether CSC string is already there or not. As CSC string is not already there, it is going to accommodate the respective location along with some kind of address like 100. For example, if you got one more statement like string k1 equal to csc, what the compiler will do? As it is a literal way of declaration, it is going to create the memory in the string constant pool. If you look into string constant pool, here csc is already there. As it is already there, is it going to create again? No. The same reference will be given to again k1 only. Again to the k1. So reference is what here? It is 100. It is also here 100. Right? So this is the difference, general difference between string and string buffer and builder. If you look into the exact question, what they have asked, string buffer and builder, right? So one thing difference between the string buffer and string builder is, if you take string buffer and string builder, in terms of synchronization, we can say which is synchronized and which is asynchronized. String builder is asynchronized and string buffer is synchronized, right? So at any cost you have to remember what is synchronized and what is asynchronized, right? So because of the string buffer class is synchronized, can we call multiple threads? Is there any problem in the results? Can the multiple threads allowed to execute a block of code when you go with the string buffer? Multiple threads cannot be allowed to execute the string. Whereas coming to asynchronous manner, multiple threads are allowed to execute. As multiple threads are allowed to execute, your results may lead to inconsistency. Am I right or not? But here results are going to be definitely consistent, ma'am. Any differences you can observe? Right? These are some of the differences. Can we convert string buffer into string buffer string, an immutable string into a mutable string into immutable string? How can we convert? I think we have covered it, right? Very good. So string buffer SB equal to new string buffer of the string. Then I can go with this object SB dot. There is a method called toString method is there, right? So here I can go with the string S1 equal to. So now S1 is a immutable string. The same toString method can be used for both string builder also, string builder as well as string buffer, like this, right? Very good. So in order to convert a mutable string into an immutable string, I can go with the toString method, right? So as we got the concept of strings, how can we convert a normal number into a string? Can you go with the value of method? Yes, there is a value of method is there which is in a string class, which is used for to convert the number into string format. String dot value of. Okay, fine. So these are some of the difference between string buffer and string builder. Next, and the important one which you don't know maybe, AutoBoxing and AutoUnboxing, right? So before going for AutoBoxing and AutoUnboxing, let me cover with typecasting and type conversion. This is you know it, I think, typecasting and type conversion, right? So type conversion means what? Which is an implicit conversion. You are trying to typecast from lower level data type to higher level data type, so that there is no wastage of memory. So there is no problem at all. You can able to accommodate, right? So if you take the simple example as per the class, trying to accommodate 1 liter of water into 10 liters of water bottle. Is there any problem for you? No need of any special permission. But if I want to accommodate 10 liters of water into 1 liter, I need to have some special permission. We can call it as explicit typecasting. For that you have to use specific parenthesis, casting operator you have to do. So we can call it as casting operator, right? So if I go with the double value, double d equal to new double, something like that, and if you want to convert into integer, int k equal to, you have to have int d. right? This is the difference between typecasting and type conversion, right? If you go with here, auto boxing and auto unboxing, which is important, that's why I have given for you auto boxing and auto unboxing. I already covered also, right? Right? We have already discussed the concept of wrapper classes. Wrapper classes. Wrapper classes means for each and every primitive data type. For each and every primitive data type, like if you take any primitive data type like integer, there exists a predefined class is there. That predefined class is something like integer for int. Float primitive data type having float predefined class is there. So like this, we are going to have 8 primitive types are there. For 8 primitive types, we are going to have 8 wrapper classes are there. Is my statement is correct? Good, right? There will be only 7 wrapper classes are there, but we are going to have 8 primitive types are there. Very good. Why we have 7 wrapper classes? While discussing, I have explained in, right? We have a data type called char data type. There is no specific thing required for wrapper class for this character data type. Okay, now fine. So we are going to have only 7 wrapper classes, right? So now, if you are able to observe, basic declaration something like int I equal to 10. Int I equal to 10. This is a normal way of declaration. Instance variable. Am I right? Instance variable. Now, can I create the alternative way? With help of wrapper classes, integer k equal to 10. K equal to 10. Actually, 10 is a value. 10 is a value. K is now what? Object. Here I is a kind of value. I mean, okay, very good. It's going to be a kind of variable. I is a variable. Here k is an object, right? So if you want to convert, let me take here the simple thing. Integer k equal to I. Is it going to be supported? Yes, it will be. That is what we call it as auto boxing. Auto boxing. What is the meaning of auto boxing? Trying to convert variable into an object. So we can say converting a variable into object, I can call it as auto boxing. Who are going to do this one? Compile itself it's going to do, so there is no problem at all. That's why they made prefix with the auto. Similarly, converting object into respective variable, I can call it as auto unbox. Auto unboxing, right? So auto boxing means converting value into object. Auto boxing, object into value, I can call it as auto unbox. Okay, now fine. This is the difference between auto boxing and auto unboxing. Right? So let me go with the next one. Write the difference between the length and the length method. Right? So it's a kind of single statement. Length is a keyword which is used for which location? Arrays. Which is used in arrays, used for to find out size of the array. To find out size, or we can say as length of the array also we can call it, right? Fine. Length method is meant for to find out length of the string. If you want to find out the length of the string, I can go with the length method, right? For example, if I say string k equal to CSC, if I call k dot length method, you are going to get the length of the string as 3, right? If I declare any kind of array, how are you going to declare the array? Int array syntax new int of size I would need to compulsory pass. Then if I say SOP of I dot length, what is the output you are going to get? 5. Length of the array is going to be 5. This is the difference between length keyword and length method. Right. Next one, typecasting and type conversion. Just now we have seen, which is meant for, this is something like explicit type conversion, and this is meant for implicit type conversion. And next one, what is the difference between the concrete classes, abstract classes, and wrapper classes? Concrete classes means the normal class is what you are going to write. Simply class is a keyword which you would to write blueprint of a particular requirement, or we can say it as logical thing of a particular requirement. Class name followed by which is a collection of data members and methods. Concrete class is simply a kind of a class which will represent the blueprint of a requirement, and it is a collection of data members and methods. We can simply define. Coming to abstract classes, each and every class it is going to prefix with a keyword called abstract keyword. Abstract class JK followed by any kind of data members and any kind of methods. There is no restriction of it. Does the abstract class contain 0 abstract methods? Yes. So at what situation we can go with that? If you don't want to create object for any kind of a class, then I can go for making it as abstract. So one difference between the concrete class and abstract class is what? Object can be created for concrete classes directly, but object cannot be created for abstract classes directly, but we can create only references. Thus, abstract methods are there inside concrete classes. There will be no abstract methods are there inside the concrete classes, but coming to abstract class, it can contain concrete methods or it can contain abstract methods. What is the meaning of abstract method then? A method which doesn't having any body. A method which doesn't have any body, then I can go for abstract methods. When we go for abstract methods, see, when you go for an interview, they will ask this chaining part of the question. Whatever the answers that you are giving, based on that answer, they will move further, right? So, what is the abstract method which doesn't having any body? Then when we go for abstract methods, if a particular method you are thinking that is common for all, then we can go for concrete method. If you think that the method is not common for all, it is their own implementation, then is it necessary to implement by myself? Why I need to struggle that? No need. I will just make it as abstract so that all the people who required it, they can just simply implement it. That's it, right? So that is where we will go with the abstract methods. And wrapper classes is meant for what? These are a kind of predefined classes which is meant for one reason is for the purpose of conversion and to try to implement the Java as 100% object oriented programming language, right? Is Java is 100% object oriented programming language? No, because of existence of the primitive data types. And one more reason is the classes contains various kind of methods and variables, right? If you are trying to access any data in the Java language, you have to access with respect to only through objects. Means if you are trying to process something in Java language, you have to do it through only objects. But can we have alternative solution for objects or not? Yes, because of existence of static keyword, we can able to access with respect to classes, right? That's the reason Java is not 100% object oriented programming language, right? So Java is not 100% object oriented programming language. One is because of primitive data types, another reason is because of static keyword. Okay, fine. These are some of the difference between concrete class, abstract class, and wrapper classes. What is the difference between split method and StringTokenizer class? Right, split method is meant for which is available in string class, which is used for to split the data based on certain delimiter, right? For example, if I say string s equal to hi, welcome to CSC, I want to split the string based on space, certain delimiter called space. Then what I can do, s dot split of what delimiter you want to separate. Then it is going to return what? That is the difference you have to write. Split method will return array of strings, right? So here you have to mention string s1 equal. So s1 is what here? Array. And then s1 dot length you are going to find, you will try to print all the words. We can call them as words only, right? So this is what the split method. Coming to string tokenizer class, which is also meant for to split the data. Both are meant for to split the data, but here we are going to follow some separate procedure. So the difference is split method is going to return array of strings as return type, whereas string tokenizer is going to return one string at a time. It is going to return only one string at a time, right? And to process the next string, we are going to have some kind of methods are like there. Has more tokens, next token, has token, etc. These are some of the predefined methods are there in the string tokenizer class, which are meant for to process the split data. Right? Yes. This is the difference between split and string tokenizer class. Next, write the difference between the class and the interface. Right? Just now I said class is something like blueprint, which is a collection of data members and methods. With the help of a class keyword, I can mention them. That's it. Once the class is created, is there any memory is going to be allocated for it? No. It's going to be simply a kind of logical extensions. What about the interface? You can able to create the interface with respect to interface keyword. Something like interface name is JK, which is also a collection of what? Data members and abstract methods. This is the difference. In interface we are going to have abstract methods. In classes we are going to have concrete methods. There is no abstract methods at all, right? So, but if you look into the exact definition of the interface, which contains what? Public, static, final variables and public abstract methods. Public abstract method. So these are some of the difference between class and interface. Can we create the object for the class? Yes. We cannot able to create the object for the interface, but we can able to create only references, right? So nowadays from the Java version 1.8 onwards, these interfaces are allowing what? Implemented methods also, concrete methods also. But those concrete methods are should be only these three types. One is a default method. So in the last class I have discussed, right? Default method and static method and private methods, but not the general concrete methods. General concrete method, right? So just revise the previous class so that you can get the clear idea, right? Next, we'll go with the next question. Write the difference between instance variables, static variable and final variables. Instance variables means the general variables which we declared inside the class but outside the method, right? This is a method. Outside the method we can call it as instance variables. Instance variable, right? So this is a kind of a class. When we say them as static variables, if they are going to prefix with static keyword, but outside of the method, then we can call it as static variables. And final variables, they are going to prefix with again final keyword, right? That's the general definition everybody is going to define. Class, final variables, methods, something like this. This is a general thing, right? Means if a variable is going to prefix with static, we can call it as static variable. If a variable is going to prefix with final, I can call it as final variables, and those should be outside of the method and inside the class, right? So if you look into more in depth about it, instance variables can narrate inside the method. Instance variables can narrate inside the method. I think there will be one type of variable which we cannot able to write inside the method. What are those? Local variables means what? Static variables can I write inside the method? No, right? So that is what you have to understand. Static int a we cannot able to write inside the methods. We can write instance variables inside the methods, final variables inside the method, but not the static methods. Right? Is there any differences that you can able to observe? If I am going to allocate a static variable, how many times memory is going to be allocated? Only one time. If you want to use the same variable memory for each and every time until the operation is going to be done, I will go with static variable. What about the final variable? How many times memory is going to be allocated? As many number of times object is going to be created. As many times object is going to be created, that many number of times final variable is going to be created. What about instance variables? Same. As many times object is created, that many number of times instance variables memory is going to be created. Right? Can I have any other differences? Scope. Right? What will be the scope of instance variable? Right? I think we can go with, so instance variable scope is what? Based on access modifier. If it is a private, its scope is what? Within the class. If it is default, within the package. If it is protected, multiple packages, but subclass of another package. Public can be accessed anywhere. Right? So that we'll see again in the remaining question. Access modifiers. And how we are going to access the static variables? This is one more difference, right? You can able to access with respect to, guys, can I have a question? Can I call with respect to object again? Yes, but it is not the recommended approach. What about how we are going to access the instance variables? Through object you can able to access. But can I call with respect to class name? No, it is not possible, right? Fine. So these are some of the differences that we can able to understand between instance variables, static variables, and final variables. Next one, static polymorphism and dynamic polymorphism. Basically, what is the meaning of polymorphism? One particular method is available in many forms. So if it is a kind of method overloading, we will call it as static polymorphism. If it is a kind of method overriding, we can call it as dynamic polymorphism. Right? So static polymorphism means at the compile time, whatever the method is going to be referred, the same method is going to be executed at the runtime also. Whereas coming to dynamic polymorphism, compile time, whatever the method is going to be referred, at the runtime also, different kind of method is going to be executed. We can call it as dynamic polymorphism. Okay, now fine. Next one, we'll go with differences between double equal to operator and equals method. Right? So which is simple. Double equal to operator is meant for comparing the references. Equals method is meant for content comparison, we can say. Content comparison, right? We have another method. If I say equals ignore case method is there, which is meant for what? So which is not going to check for, which not checks case sensitivity, whereas it will check for the, so which will equals method will check for case sensitivity also, which means that is CSC content is equal to CSC? No, because C is capital here. Whereas coming to here equals ignore case method, which is meant for to compare the two strings content, but they are going to ignore simply case sensitivity. Right? Next, what are the differences between static methods and final methods? Right? So one is definitely final methods not going to participate in inheritance. That's for sure. Right? Static methods are going to participate in inheritance. Am I right or not? They are going to participate in inheritance. Yes, in terms of interfaces, that through interfaces static methods are there. As per earlier class, static methods from 1.8 version, there you will get confusion again, right? So static concrete methods are there inside the class, then we will get they are available logically. If I say, do you have any doubt in explanation? Class something like, let me call person void some method like p which is of type static, and class jk extends person. Now if you are able to clearly understood, here static method p is logically available. Am I right? Yes, it is logically available. That's why we are calling it as method hiding. You have to understand this point. That's why we call it as method hiding. But the point is here, can we override it? No, it is not possible to override it. It's not possible to override it. Whereas coming to the static method inside the interfaces, is it allowed to override? There also it won't allow to override. There also it won't be allowed to override, and that too it is not logical available also. If you are able to clearly check, it won't logical available. This is the difference between the static methods and final methods. Final methods. Okay, na? Fine. So you have to make sure to differentiate between the static method inside the class and the static method inside the interface. Next one, write the difference between is a, has a, and user relationship, which is simple. If you are going to have some kind of relation between, something like inheritance relation between the two classes, then the relation between them is a relationship. If we take this example, class person, class jk extends person, then the relation between these two classes is what? Is a relationship. If there exists some kind of inheritance relation, I can call it as is a relationship. Does final class with any other class will call it as is a relationship? No, final classes won't participate in inheritance. Okay, na? Fine. So we can say final classes doesn't follow, doesn't having is a relationship, right? Next we'll go with has a relationship. Has a relationship means trying to create object of one class inside the another class. So a equal to new a, I can call it as has a relationship. I am trying to create object of one class inside another class, I can call it as has a relationship. What is the best example for this one? Print stream class, right? You can refer the earlier class notes, then you can understand, right? Print stream class is the best one to define has a relationship, right? And next one is user relationship, right? You are trying to create object inside the class here in has a relationship, whereas coming to in user relationship, you are trying to create object of one class inside the method of another class. So if you take the example, class A, class B, public static void main method, inside a particular method, I am trying to create object a equal to new a. New a, this one I can call it as user relationship. Okay, na? Fine. So can you give an example for user relationship? Right, the normal programs what we are trying to execute every day. Inside the main method, you have to compulsory create object of one class, then only you will move further, right? So that is the example for user relationship. Next and the last one, write the difference between the interpreter and JIT. What is the interpreter? It is going to read line by line of code. Basically, if it is in Java language, we will call it as read line by line of byte code. What is JIT then? So as we are trying to discuss in Java, we can say it as read line by line of byte code. What is JIT? we can update it as just in time compiler, which is a kind of a compiler. JIT is a compiler, not the same. JIT is compiler, interpreter is a kind of interpreter. So as an interpreter is going to read the line by line of bytecode, whereas coming to JIT is going to read group of lines at the same time and converting into machine understandable format, right? So if you are able to observe this one, basically once the Java C program executed, you are going to get dot class file. Then then JVM will involve and it is going to generate the machine understandable format code. By default, it is going to follow interpreter approach. Sometimes JVM will use JIT. Why they are going to use JIT? To make our program yielding high performance. To yield high performance, they are calling JIT in place of interpreter. This is the reason why Java is providing high performance. Because of existence of the JIT, Java is having one of the features as high performance, right? Then at what situation JIT is going to be involved? You have understood, right? So basically, if I am going to have a method called M1 method, this is going to be basically executed by interpreter. Interpreter will read first line and execute it, second line execute it, third line execute it, fourth line execute it, and so on. For example, the same method I am going to call it for 1000 times. For first 2 to 3 times, it is going to be do the same process again and again, but it reaches once the threshold value. Means when every method is going to be executed, it is going to maintain certain threshold value. The threshold value, if it is assuming that JVM having the threshold value as 3, it is going to vary from JVM to JVM. If the JVM value threshold is 3, assume, means after 3 calls, if again I am going to call, then it will call JIT, because to improve the performance, right? The reason is it is already executed for 3 times. Does it contain any errors? No need, no errors are there. Then why we need to execute again line by line of bytecode? That is the reason they are going to simply call the JIT, and JIT will do what it will do? It will read whole lines of code at a time and converting into machine understandable format. That is the advantage of JIT, right? So this is the difference. These are the differences between an interpreter and JIT. Interpreter and JIT both are used for to convert dot class file into machine format only. But if the same method or the same task is going to be executed for more than number of threshold times, then I can call JIT. Otherwise, I will go with only interpreter. Right? Any doubts are there here? No, right? Okay, we can stop here.